It's mile 68. I'm sitting at the aid station. My body is in full revolt. Chills 1 minute, very, very hot the next, and my stomach is doing backflips. My period just arrived at mile 66 like an unwelcomed house guest. I've been alone on this course for a lot of hours. My sub 24-hour dream, it's slipping through my fingers like water. And I'm sitting there trying to get myself back online to get on that course. And all I can think is, did I really drive 455 miles by myself to quit now? Did I really wake up in the wee hours of the morning, miss some of my kids' games, cook dinner at lunchtime so my family could eat while they had their sports in the evening? Did I really do all of that to give up now? Today, I'm sharing the raw, unfiltered, behind-the-scenes stories of my 100-mile race without a crew for the first time. No husband at the aid station, no friends to pace me through the dark hours, just me and my drop bags and a goal that terrified me. But here's the thing. This isn't about running. This is about what happens when a woman who's spent her entire adult life making sure everyone else has what they need finally decides to show up for herself too. This is about the moment when you realize that all those times you said, I don't have the time, or maybe when the kids are older, or I'm not that kind of person, were just stories you told yourself because somewhere along the way, you started believing that your dreams mattered less than everyone else's needs. Welcome to Miles from Review, the podcast powered by Catfit Strength, where busy women like you find practical solutions to fuel your fitness journey with authenticity and resilience. I'm Kat, your host, a mom of 2 active boys, a business owner, and an ultramarathon runner, and a strength trainer in her 40s. With nearly 2 decades of experience, I'm here to help you cut through the noise of fads, hacks, and quick fixes. This is a space where we celebrate womanhood and motherhood, all while building strength and resilience and reconnecting with you from a place of self-compassion and worthiness. Whether you're lacing up your running shoes to go out for a run, driving your kids to practice, or squeezing in a moment for yourself, I'm right here in the trenches with you. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Miles from Review. I'm Kat. And if you're a woman who does it all, but still wants more, if you're exhausted from juggling, but can't shake the voice whispering, what if? This episode is for you. Like I said, it's a raw, unfiltered story of the behind the scenes of my last race. It isn't all about running. It is about the woman who does it all. So let me really bring you inside my life because I'm pretty sure it looks a lot like yours. There's going to be some differences. There's going to be some similarities. It's Tuesday morning. My alarm goes off at 5 a.m. I'm immediately doing the math. And it's not the simple kind, the complex calculus that every mom knows out there. If you run for 60 minutes, that gives you 15 minutes to shower, 15 minutes to get ready, another 10 minutes to make sure the kids are getting out the door. And those 10 minutes are sprinkled in while you're getting ready, in and out of the shower, trying to get kids moved along to get their buses. And then, in those ever so waning moments, getting just a little bit of the house picked up, breakfast, and then at your desk by 7:30, 8 o'clock. I'm getting up, I'm tiptoeing around the house. Because there's staggered wake times in our house, and I want everyone to get their sleep. I'm stepping over maybe piles of laundry or shoes strewn about in the mudroom and trying to get myself to my workout. My workouts are honestly, I can't stress this enough. And I know when you hear I've run 100 miles, you think, okay, that takes a lot of training. And it does. Compared to a lot of my peers, my training is a lot less. I run about 45 to 60 minutes Monday through Wednesday, and Tuesday's my speed workout. And that's the day I really pretend like I'm still that college sprinter I used to be, but my body likes to remind me that it was a lifetime ago. And Thursdays are my deload day where I spin. And Fridays and Saturdays, that's where I need to put in bigger mile days. And those days require a lot of negotiation, planning, and sometimes a little guilt. Strength training happens Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, and they're squeezed into the margins, just like everything else is that is just for me. By 7:30 a.m., I'm pretty much at my desk. I'm seeing clients, doing client check-ins, and I'm teaching other women how to get strong and prioritize their health, how to show up for themselves. And that irony isn't lost on me. By 4 p.m., that second shift starts. There are kid drop-offs at sports, kid pickups, there are music lessons, the homework battles begin, and dinner that sometimes I cooked at lunch that needs to be reheated and put into containers so that people can eat them on the go. Other times it is cooking dinner in the midst of doing my strength training because that is the only time that it could fit in. And then the bedtime routines start around 8:15 to get everyone in bed, the kids in bed by 9, and then just the last 30 minutes before I fall asleep by 9:30, quarter of 10 is really just downtime for my husband and I. I'm the head of the house. I am the one who holds the entire schedule in my brain, the one who tracks who needs to be where, when that permission slip is due, which kid has a test tomorrow, and whether there's milk in the fridge. And I have systems, so many systems. There are weekly chore charts where everyone knows their job. Meal plans are done on Sunday, and a shared calendar that, to be quite honest, it is fine-tuned down to the minute to keep everybody on track. And yet, there are some weeks we have cereal for dinner, and that's a win. And there are some weekends the house looks like a tornado hit it, and we all agree that we're going to pretend not to see it because we need to breathe more than we need clean counters. So when I tell you I decided to run 100 miles, I need you to understand what that really meant. It meant that there were going to be some Saturdays that I was going to be up early running. And that meant missing one game, sometimes 2 games per season for my kids. And it's not because I don't love my kids, but it's because I finally understood that showing them a mother who could chase her dreams might be just as important as showing them a mother in the bleachers. And the guilt, there was guilt every single time. But here's what I learned about guilt. It's just fear dressed up in a socially acceptable costume. Fear that we're not enough. Fear that pursuing our own dreams makes us selfish. Fear that if we stop holding everyone else up for even a moment, everything will collapse. When I decided to go for the solo race, and yes, this was mostly about logistics. My husband couldn't be there because he needed to be home with the kids to get them through their schedules. We didn't have childcare. There were a lot of other things that were going on that just prevented people being there for me. And that is 100% fine. And when I decided to do it alone, something shifted. This just wasn't about running 100 miles anymore. This was about proving to myself I could take up space, that I could need things, that I could be the main character in my own story, not just the supporting actress in everyone else's. The week before the race, I was in my dining room surrounded by drop bags. So if you're unfamiliar with ultra marathoning, drop bags essentially are placed along the course where you have your personalized necessities, where you have your gels, your calories, your food, your change of clothes, whatever you might need in there during the race. And every runner is allowed to have them, whether or not they have a crew. A crew is friends, family, whoever that is personally there to support you in the race aside from aid stations. Aid stations are at certain mile markers, and they have brilliant humans that volunteer their time to ensure you're getting nutrition, support, whatever you also need on the course. So are you curious about captain strength? Well, CatFit Strength is designed to help you achieve your fitness goals with confidence and clarity. Whether you're a busy mom juggling multiple responsibilities, a woman navigating unique challenges of prenatal, postpartum, or perimenopause, or an athlete looking to enhance your performance, CatFit Strength has you covered. Let's get down to it. CatFit Strength offers personalized programs tailored to your unique needs, goals, and ensuring you get the most out of every workout. Expert guidance provided for you with the understanding of the importance of balancing strength training, cardio, and mobility. Flexible workouts designed to fit into your busy schedule, whether you're at home or at the gym or on the go. So why choose CatFit Strength? I believe in creating sustainable fitness habits that adapt to your lifestyle. I focus on helping you lift effectively, move better, and feel stronger every day. Plus, emphasis is on realistic goal setting, celebrating every win, and helping you stay motivated and inspired. When you plan your drop bags, it requires a level of executive function that is super detailed. For this race, there was going to be repetitive times that I would come back to the same drop bag. Knowing that over the course of 100 miles, you're mentally going to fatigue. You're going to forget what you need. It's going to be harder to look for things in that drop bag. So I had to be super detailed because, as amazing as the aid station volunteers are, I knew that I needed to show up for myself first, and they could be the support there if I needed them. I had one large, it was a wet bag because the race at the time called for rain. So I wanted to make sure I had a wet bag so that none of my stuff in there got wet. Inside each large wet drop bag, I had smaller bags in there labeled with the exact miles I would need. And so then inside each of those bags were the gels and other nutrition I had, knowing the exact carb count, caloric intake I would need for those miles, pre-measured electrolyte powder in hydration flasks that would go in my hydration vest. I had backup headlamps with fresh batteries in case I needed those on the course for when it got darker, and change of clothes for different weather scenarios. Like I said, it was supposed to be cold and rainy for most of the day, and then a little bit cold overnight and rainy overnight. And then I also had ice bandanas for heat because weather can change. That's out of our control. And then I also had warmer layers for night. And then the medical supplies for blisters, chafing cream, tape in case I needed that, and muscle cream for any sore muscles. So each bag was a decision tree of possibilities. So what if it's hotter than expected? What if I'm nauseous? What if my feet swell more than usual? All the what ifs were packed in this bag so that I had it right there at my hands and I could troubleshoot to keep me moving on that course. But one of the most important thing that was in the bag is my boys and my husband wrote notes for me. They're handwritten notes on index cards, and they are put in at certain miles. They know what miles they're going to go in, and they always write me messages. And how this habit transcended was when I first started ultra marathoning, they wouldn't be on the course when I was doing 30 miles, 40 miles, 50 miles. My kids were young. They were in early elementary to preschool. And it was a lot to ask for my husband to be there because it took a long time. I am not a fast runner. So when I first started out, I was the back of the pack runner. It took me a long time. And when you're out in the middle of nowhere, there's not much that a preschooler or a young elementary school kid can do. They get bored. So to keep me motivated, I would have notes for them. Let's talk about the drive. 455 miles is a long time in the car by yourself. It's a little over 7 hours. And this was the first time in months I had been truly alone with my thoughts. Yes, I go running, but that's also filtered in with the daily to-dos, the thinking about a program that I'm writing for a client, the discussion I had with my one or both sons, or it's thinking about the workout and pushing myself. This was just unfiltered, just downtime. No podcasts, no audiobooks, just me and the highway. And every training run I'd ever been done was playing through my mind like a highlight reel. I thought about the first half marathon I ran 11 years ago when my youngest was 9 months old and my eldest was 3 years old. And running felt like the only thing that was just mine. I thought about all the 5 a.m.s, the 4 a.m.s, and even the 3 a.m. runs and the miles that I logged during that when the world slept, when the world was so peaceful. And all the times I chose hard things, even when the easy thing was right there calling my name. I thought about my track days in college, how I felt so connected to my body and how I trusted it completely. And then I also thought about how I lost that connection after having kids. After postpartum PTSD rewired my brain and made me feel a stranger in my own skin. This whole year of training hadn't just been about building physical endurance. It had been about rebuilding trust on a deeper level, learning to listen to my body signals again instead of just pushing through them, understanding the difference between discomfort and danger, remembering that I am stronger, but also remembering that strength sometimes looks like rest. As I pulled into the race check-in, there was a ton of runners with their crews. It was a celebration. Everyone knew everyone seemingly and giving hugs and super pumped up. There was just this excitement in the air. And there I was with my drop bags in my car with my notes from home. And for a moment, just a moment, I wondered, what the hell was I doing? Well, fast forward, Friday morning before the race at the start line. And again, I feel like I'm just all alone. I saw a fellow runner who trains locally, and we met for the first time the day before. So it was nice to have some familiar face there. I'd spoken to my husband and the boys while they were getting ready for school in the morning before I lined up on that starting line. Well, 7 a.m., the race begins. And the first thing that hits you when you start running is just the beauty around you. This race was on the Virginia Creeper Trail, and it's a rail trail that winds through the country of Virginia, rolling hills, and a very, very loud creek that just was constantly babbling down there. Morning mist that was coming off the fields. The lighting was gorgeous. And for those first 20 miles, it just was a celebration. My body remembered how to do this. All those training miles kicked in. I found my rhythm. And it wasn't too fast. It was just the right pace. Because this wasn't about winning. I'm a middle of the pack runner, and I'm super proud of that. It was about lasting. And I really want to be clear about something. I have chased cutoffs. I have been down to the wire with cutoffs. I don't win age group awards, and I'm not going to have photographers or sponsors at the finish line waiting for me. But what I am is stubborn, consistent, and willing to do the work when no one's watching. The aid stations are beautiful miracles that happen every 6 miles. Volunteers who didn't know me cheered me on like I was their own daughter, sister, or mother. They filled bottles, offered encouragement, and told me I looked strong, even though that was all probably a lie. Saying things like, "You got this, looking good, keep moving, you're doing this damn thing." I met incredible humans out there. We shared a few miles, swapped stories, and drifted apart as our paces just diverged. But for those moments, we were connected by this absurd, beautiful thing we were all choosing to do. And that's when it hit me. Even when you show up for yourself, you're never truly alone. The universe sends you exactly what you need, exactly when you need them. But, and this is crucial, they can only find you if you show up first. How many times have we missed those connections because we never took the first step? How many support systems never materialized because we never gave them the chance? We sit at home thinking, I can never do that, without realizing that alone is just the starting point, not the destination. The heat, oh my goodness, arrived so strong. It started coming through mid-morning. The real feel was in the mid-80s. The humidity made breathing feel like drowning in slow motion. And the gnats, let me tell you about these things. They were out in full force, sticking to every exposed inch of sweaty skin. I waved my hands around my face like a madwoman, probably looking pretty absurd to any normal humans who happened to be using the trail that day. But I was still moving, still hitting my splits, still believing in that sub 24-hour dream. So the one thing that nobody tells you about ultras or motherhood or being a woman over 35 who's trying to do big things is sometimes your body betrays you at the worst possible moment. Mile 66, my period arrives, and it wasn't due for a couple days, but apparently my uterus did not get the memo about the race schedule. The cramps hit like someone was wringing out my insides. I pushed, I felt awful. And then by mile 68, my body felt horrible. I grabbed my drop bag, and where mile 68 was, it was at the start finish area. So you kind of came back. It was a bit of an out and back course. I grabbed my drop bag and I head to my car because in this course, it was an out and back course. And you would return to the start finish area a couple times. And so your car was there too. And people who had crews could crew from the car. Individuals who didn't were able to go to their cars as well. I had made a pact that my car would be my emergency aid station. I would only go there if I absolutely needed. It wasn't that far of a walk. It was probably 20, 30 pieces off of the course. It was close. At this time when I came in, my body was not doing well. I had chills, and then suddenly I was super flush. My stomach was in full rebellion. And I grabbed my stuff, went to my car, and I felt the mental spiral starting. And a special flavor of self-doubt that only comes when you're exhausted and hormonal and alone crept in. You're too slow. You didn't train enough. Who do you think you were for trying to do this? A real ultra runner wouldn't be sitting here. You're letting everyone down. You're letting yourself down. I pulled out my phone knowing at that time my kids would be in the midst of their bedtime routine. I needed to hear their voices more than I needed oxygen. My husband answered, and I could hear the boys in the background, the dogs running around, and he said, "Hey, how's it going?" I was holding back tears. I said, "I'm at mile 68, and I'm sitting in my car, and I don't know if I can keep on going." I could hear my kids rejoicing, "You're almost there. You only have 32 more miles to go." In my head, I'm like, 32 more miles. That's a 50K, more than a marathon. The optimism from my children, believing in me that I could do anything. When I hear them cheering me on, using my own words reflected back to me was huge. Hearing them say they believe in me was huge. I was fighting. I was sitting there. I was trying to get my body back online, feeling awful. Could I really do this? I wanted so badly to go sub 24, but my body just said no. Well, I had to get off the phone. I knew I needed to go. They loved me and that I got this, and they couldn't wait to hear about it tomorrow. It was amazing hearing my family have such a regular Friday night and the complete confidence in me that I was just running 100 miles because that's what mom does. Mom does hard things. I hung up the phone and just sat there for another minute, breathing, pushing every negative thought out of the brain and just giving empty space to my brain. I watched runners who I had passed miles ago come in and head back out again. And I was thinking, can I do this? I stood up, creaky, cranky, crampy, but upright. I grabbed my headlamp from my drop bag along with my notes from my family, and I stuffed them in my hydration vest. I read one note from my husband that I reread. It was a rereading of a note from earlier, and it says, I'm sure you're feeling it now. Don't let up. Don't give up. Now is when the real race starts. Get out there, keep moving forward. You are strong and powerful. I love you. I smiled. It was the first time I smiled in hours. And then I did what we do, what women who do it all have always done. I took the next step. Miles 68 to 85 were a blur of determination and negotiation with my own body. When the sun sets, the trails totally transform. What was farmland becomes shadow. The creek sounds louder in the darkness, almost aggressive. And there were spiders. Oh, these spiders. Their webs stretched across the trail like nightmare streamers. I'd run through them face first, then spend the next quarter of a mile doing the spider dance, convinced I had 8-legged hitchhikers on my body and in my hair. And this is where mental tricks become essential. Not motivational poster nonsense, but real practical tools. The tree game. I had to make it to each tree. If I could just make it to that next tree, I knew I could get to the next one. And I'd have to run to the next one. And I broke the infinite into bite-sized pieces. The song challenge. Just one more song. Just make it through one more song. Just listen to Lose Yourself by Eminem one more time on repeat. Judge me all you want, but it works. And the third person pep talk. Oh, I'm for real. I talk to myself out loud in the third person saying, Kat is strong. Kat trained for this. Kat doesn't quit at mile 75 just because her feet hurt. Talking to myself, I was my own coach because I needed someone to be there for me. And power memories. Remembering specific training runs where I felt invincible. That 20-miler in the rain where I finished looking like a drowned rat, but feeling like a warrior. That track workout where I hit every split. The hill repeats that nearly killed me, but didn't. And around mile 72, something shifted. My stomach settled. The cramps eased to a manageable roar, and my body remembered how to do this. This is what I want every woman listening to understand. Your body is smarter than your brain. It knows how to heal. It knows how to adapt, how to endure. But we spend so much time overriding its signals, pushing when we should rest, resting when we should push, that we forget how to listen. Mile 68 taught me that listening to your body isn't weakness. It's the ultimate strength. I sat when I needed to sit. I walked when I needed to walk, and when my body was ready, I ran. Miles 75 to 85 were lonely. It's 2 a.m. I haven't seen another runner in an hour. My headlamp creates a tiny bubble of light in an ocean of darkness. Every sound makes me jump. Was that a deer? A bear? A serial killer? My imagination is running wilder than my feet. This is where I desperately wanted a pacer, someone to talk to me, someone to share the burden of forward motion, someone to tell me I didn't look as bad as I felt. But there's something powerful about being alone with myself in the darkness. No distractions, no performances, no need to be okay for anyone else's benefit. Just me and the trail and the truth that I was doing this thing that scared me. I thought a lot about all the women I coach, the ones who tell me they don't have time, they're too old, they're not athletes, they could never. I thought about the mom at school pickup who mentioned she used to run before kids, the moms on the sidelines of games who said she'd love to get strong but doesn't know where to start, my friend who dreams of doing a triathlon but thinks that ship has sailed. I was running for all of us. Every woman who's been told by others or by herself that her time has passed, that her body is too broken from babies, from years, from life, that wanting more is selfish. Bullshit. All of it complete bullshit. Mile 85, the final aid station before the push to the finish. My left foot stopped cooperating around mile 80. I sat down to stretch it out and I chatted with the aid station volunteers, trying to do the trail math to see even if it was still possible. I knew I had a long way to go and time was running short. Miles 85 to 100, the pain cave, the place where you truly meet yourself. My watch showed I could still make sub 24 if I kept the miles under 14 minutes. And for fresh legs, that's a very casual pace. For legs that have covered 85 miles, that might as well have been a sprint. I did the math, so much math. And if I were to run for 5 minutes or walk for 1, what's my average pace? What if I ran for 4 and walked for 2? I passed mile 95 and I started crying. Not sad tears, not even happy tears, just tears. Like my body needed to release something beyond sweat. 5 more miles. A normal Saturday easy run, except nothing about this was normal or easy. My left foot was screaming. My quads had given up complaining and moved straight to the silent treatment. My stomach was empty, but the thought of another gel made me gag. But my heart was so full it might explode. And then I thought about my son's words. It has been there all along. Not just the ability to run 100 miles, the worthiness, the deserving, the right to take up space, to have dreams, to be more than someone's mother or wife or coach or friend, to be Kat, who does impossible things. Mile 98, I could hear the finish line before I could see it. Music, cowbells, cheering. Mile 99, I passed the photographer and tried smiling, possibly looked a little deranged, but I didn't care. Mile 99.5, I could see the finishing arch. Mile 99.9, time to check. I crossed that finish line at 23 hours and 38 minutes and 17 seconds. Sub 24. The tears came harder. I looked around for my family, even though I knew they weren't there, but old habits. The race director caught me in a big bear hug. You did it. That's incredible. Take it all in. I couldn't speak. I just nodded and tears were in my eyes. And I tried to remember to be a human who wasn't running. Finally, I took my phone off airplane mode and it exploded with messages from people I didn't even know were tracking me. Friends and family. Messages were coming in. You did it. Sub 24. Amazing. I can't believe it. I called home and my husband answered. I told him I did it. And he said, of course you did. I was on speakerphone and I could hear my kids in the background. My older son said, Mom, I'm not surprised. I expected this because it had been there all along. You just needed to dig deep and do it. 14 years old, he understood something that it took me 40-something years to learn. It had been there all along. So here's what I want you to understand. Really, really understand. I'm not special. I'm not exceptionally talented or gifted or genetically blessed. I'm a middle of the pack, middle-aged mother of 2 who decided to stop waiting for permission to chase something big. Every single day, I practice showing up for myself. Not in huge ways, not in Instagram-worthy ways, in tiny, almost invisible ways. Getting up 15 minutes earlier to have coffee in the silence before the chaos starts. Saying no to the PTA thing that would have put me over the edge. Asking my husband to handle morning routines or dinner so I could get a run in or a strength train. Putting my phone down and going to bed instead of scrolling until midnight. Taking the long route home so I could just have 5 more minutes of music. Eating lunch sitting down instead of over a sink. These aren't selfish acts. These are acts of preservation. They're how we stay human in beautiful chaos of doing it all. I know what you're thinking right now. You're making a list of all the reasons you couldn't do something like this. I don't have time. Let me tell you about it. I found it at 5 a.m. I found it during lunch breaks. I found it by letting some things go. The house wasn't always clean. We ate takeout more than I'd like to admit. I missed some school events, and you know what? Everyone survived. They more than survived. They watched their mother chase a dream. I'm too old. I'm in my 40s. I'm faster and stronger now than I was in my 30s. Your body is capable of adaptation at any age. The only expiration date is the one you put on yourself. I'm not an endurance runner. Neither was I until I was. Everyone starts somewhere. Your something doesn't have to be running. Maybe it's lifting weights. Maybe it's hiking. Maybe it's dancing. Maybe it's starting a business, writing that book, going back to school. The what doesn't matter. The showing up does. My family needs me. Yes, they do. They also need to see you as a whole person with dreams and goals and needs of your own. They need to see that mothers are humans who deserve to be more than just support systems for everyone else's dreams. And here's what changed when I started showing up for myself consistently. I became a better mother. Not perfect, but better. More patient because I wasn't running on empty. More present because I wasn't resentful. More joyful because I wasn't just surviving. I became a better partner. I stopped keeping score of who did what because I wasn't getting what I needed. I stopped expecting my husband to read my mind because I learned to ask for what I needed. I became a better coach. I could tell my clients to prioritize themselves because I was actually doing it. I could push them because I was pushing myself. I could believe in their impossible because I was living mine. But most importantly, I became myself again. Not the pre-kid version. She's gone, and that's okay. But the version who remembers that she matters, who knows that her needs are valid, who believes that showing up for herself isn't selfish, it is necessary. So here's my challenge to you. What is your 100 miles? What is the thing that scares you, but also calls to you? The thing that you think about in the shower, in the car, in those quiet moments before you sleep. What would you do if you believed you were worth the time, effort, and space it would require? Start small. Start so small it seems ridiculous. Like this, for example. Week 1. Lay out your workout clothes before bed. Don't even commit to working out. Just lay them out. Create the possibility. Week 2. Put them on. Even if you don't exercise, put them on. Feel what it's like to be dressed for yourself. Week 3, move for 10 minutes. Walk around the block. Do stretches in your living room. Dance to 3 songs. Just move. Week 4, add 5 minutes. Then add another 5 the next week. Build slowly. Build sustainably. Build like someone who's in it for the long haul. But here's the real secret. It's not about exercise. It's about the practice of choosing yourself. It's about building the muscle of believing you matter. It's about creating the evidence that you can do hard things. Every time you show up for yourself, whether it's a workout, a boundary, a dream, or just a moment of rest, you're adding to the bank account of self-trust. And eventually that account gets big enough to cash in on something that has once seemed impossible. 6 months ago, if you had told me I'd run 100 miles under 24 hours solo, I would have laughed or cried or both. But I did it, not because I'm special, but because I'm stubborn. Not because I had more time than you, because I made time. Not because it was easy, but because I finally believed I was worth doing something hard for. Your 100 miles is waiting for you. It might not be running. It might be starting that business you've been dreaming about since your 30s. It might be going back to school. It might be learning to lift heavy weights. It might be signing up for that dance class, that art workshop, that writing retreat. It might simply be deciding that you matter as much as everyone else in your life. The magic isn't in achievement. The magic is in showing up day after day, imperfectly but persistently choosing yourself. Because here's what my 14-year-old son knew that I had forgotten. It's been there all along. The strength, the capability, the worthiness, the magic. It's been there all along. You just have to dig deep and do it. If you're ready to start showing up for yourself, not next month, not when life calms down, because honestly, when does that ever happen? But now, I want to hear from you. Find me on Instagram at CatFitStrength and at MilesFromHerView. Tell me about your 100 miles. Tell me about your first small step. Tell me about the thing that scares you but won't leave you alone. If you're ready for support in building strength, physical, mental, all of it, check out www.cat.fit. I offer one-on-one online training designed specifically for women who do it all. Strength training, cardio, mobility, but really, it's so much more than that. It's about remembering who you are beyond the roles you serve. To the women listening who think her time is past, who believe her dreams matter less than everyone else's needs, who's been putting herself on the back burner for so long, she forgot she was even cooking something. You're capable of more than you imagine. You are worthy of the time it takes. You are allowed to want more. You are allowed to be more. The question isn't, can I? The question is, am I ready to find out what I'm made of? Thank you for joining me on this episode of Miles from Review. I'm Kat, and I believe in you even when you don't believe in yourself. Now go show up for yourself today, even if it's just for 5 minutes, even if it's just laying out those workout clothes. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. The magic is already there. It's been there all along. Thank you for tuning in to Miles from Review, powered by CatFitStrength. If this podcast inspires you, don't keep it for yourself. Hit follow or subscribe to stay updated on the new episodes and leave us a review to help more women and moms discover this space. Your feedback fuels this podcast, and I'd love to hear what's working for you or what topics you want to dive into next. You can connect with me on Instagram at CatFitStrength or share this episode with a friend who is ready to embrace her strength. Remember, fitness isn't about perfection. It's about showing up for yourself and finding strength in every step of your journey. Until next time, keep moving forward 1 mile at a time.